All right, so today we're diving into some fascinating stuff, the creation story.
Yeah.
You've given us excerpts from the book of Genesis, both King James and New Living Translations, along with a really thought-provoking piece on personal lessons from Genesis. It's like we have a multi-layered cake of creation to explore.
Yeah, and what's interesting is how these sources approach the same story from different angles. We have
Yeah.
the classic literal account from the Bible, and then a more personal interpretive take from the Medium article.
Exactly. It's like having two lenses to view the same event. Let's start with Genesis, the foundation of it all.
Yeah. The KJV excerpts lay out the familiar 7 days of creation. Light, sky, land, sun and moon, sea creatures and birds, land animals, and finally humans. Each day builds upon the last, culminating in this incredible tapestry of life.
What always gets me is that repeated phrase, and God saw that it was good. It's like a divine stamp of approval. On each stage of creation,
Hmm. It highlights the intentionality behind each act. Creation isn't random or accidental, it's deliberate and purposeful. And that emphasis on good connects to a really interesting point made in the Medium article about the power of words.
oh, absolutely. The author links God speaking light into existence with the impact our own words have on our lives. She suggests that we have a creative capacity,
Hmm.
similar to God's through our speech. It's a bold claim.
It is. It makes you think, doesn't it? Many spiritual traditions emphasize the creative power of language. What we declare, we often bring into being, at least to some extent. It raises the question, are we using our words to build up or tear down?
It definitely makes you more conscious of what you say, that's for sure. And speaking of weighty concepts, the Medium article also explores the idea of being made in God's image, but the author takes it beyond just physical resemblance.
Yeah. She suggests that being made in God's image is about our potential, about being able to achieve incredible things, even things that seem impossible. She even draws a parallel to Jesus and the miracles he performed.
That's a pretty powerful concept. It makes you wonder, what are we truly capable of if we tap into that divine potential?
Right. It challenges us to rethink our limitations, to question our self-doubt. If God believed in his creation so completely, shouldn't we believe in ourselves with the same conviction?
And on that note, she makes a great point about celebrating our progress. She says we need to acknowledge our wins, big and small, because that fuels our continued growth.
It ties back to that Genesis refrain of, it was good. God didn't downplay his creations. He recognized their inherent goodness. Perhaps we should do the same with our own efforts.
It's a good reminder to focus on the positive, to acknowledge how far we've come, rather than dwelling on what we haven't achieved yet. Now, both sources talk about humans having dominion over the earth, which is a bit of a loaded term, isn't it? How do we reconcile that with modern ideas of environmental responsibility?
Yeah, that's where context is key. In the ancient world, dominion often implied a responsibility to care for and protect, not to exploit. Many theologians today interpret this as a call to stewardship, to be wise and compassionate guardians of the planet.
So it's less about ruling over nature and more about living in harmony with it.
Exactly. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness with all living things and acting accordingly. This responsibility is a core part of how we fulfill our role in creation.
Okay, this next part is something I think we can all relate to. The importance of rest. It's right there in Genesis.
Yeah.
God rests on the seventh day after creating the world. Talk about setting a precedent.
Yeah. The concept of Sabbath, of taking a day for rest and renewal, is deeply ingrained in many spiritual traditions. It's not just about physical rest. It's about mental and spiritual replenishment.
It's like hitting the reset button for your soul. And you know what? It's something we often neglect in our fast-paced world.
Absolutely. We've become almost obsessed with productivity and busyness. But the creation story reminds us that rest isn't a luxury. It's a vital part of the cycle of creation itself.
It's like God is saying, hey, even I take a break, so you should too. It's a powerful reminder to slow down, recharge, and come back to our endeavors with renewed energy and purpose.
And speaking of purpose, the structure of the Genesis account, with each day having a specific focus, resonated with the Medium author in a fascinating way.
Oh, yeah. She encourages us to approach our lives with the same intentionality, to write down our goals, break them down into manageable steps, and show up consistently, just like God did each day of creation.
It's a practical takeaway that can be applied to any aspect of our lives, whether we're working on a creative project, building a business, or simply trying to improve our well-being. Having a clear vision and taking consistent action is key.
It's about recognizing that even small, deliberate steps, taken consistently over time, can lead to incredible results, just like those 7 days of creation led to the world we know today.
And speaking of incredible results, let's delve deeper into this idea of being made in God's image. What are the implications of that concept?
Well, the KJV Bible states that God created man in his own image, male and female. He created them. And it emphasizes that humans have dominion over all living things on earth.
The Medium article, as we've discussed, interprets this image of God as a testament to our potential, our capacity for greatness. It's like we each carry a spark of the divine within us.
It is. It's a powerful thought. But it also raises some big questions. If we have this incredible potential, how do we unlock it? What does it actually mean to live a life that reflects that divine spark?
Those are questions worth exploring further. Perhaps the answer lies not just in grand achievements, but also in the everyday choices we make, the way we treat others, the way we engage with the world around us.
It makes you wonder if every act of kindness, every creative endeavor, every moment of connection is in a way a reflection of that divine image within us.
It's an inspiring thought, and it challenges us to look beyond the surface and see the potential for good in ourselves and in others. It suggests that we are all, in some way, part of a larger creative process, a grand unfolding of possibility.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And you know, this reminds me of something else from the KJV Bible that really caught my attention. Genesis 1:11 talks about God creating plants before the sun.
It's a detail that often gets overlooked, but it challenges our modern understanding of photosynthesis, where sunlight is essential for plant growth. It suggests a different order of priorities in the creation process.
It's like a little puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit with our current scientific knowledge. It makes you wonder if there are other aspects of the creation story that might challenge our assumptions about the world.
Perhaps it's a reminder to stay open-minded, to acknowledge that there's always more to learn, and to approach these ancient texts with a sense of curiosity and wonder.
It's easy to get caught up in trying to fit everything into neat, logical boxes, but sometimes the most profound insights come from embracing the mystery, the things we don't fully understand.
Exactly. The creation story, with all its layers of meaning and interpretation, invites us to engage with it on multiple levels. It's a story that continues to unfold, to reveal new insights as we delve deeper into its mysteries.
And I have a feeling our deep dive is just getting started. We still got plenty more to uncover in these fascinating sources. We'll be right back to continue our exploration after a short break.
Sounds good.
Welcome back. I don't know about you, but I'm already feeling like we've uncovered some real gems in these creation narratives.
Absolutely. And there's still so much more to explore. Shall we delve into the Garden of Eden next? It's such a vivid and evocative part of the Genesis story.
Let's do it. It's described as this paradise where humans lived in harmony with nature, a place of abundance and innocence.
Yes, often seen as a representation of our primordial state, before the complexities of knowledge and choice enter the picture.
And right in the heart of this garden are two very special trees, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Ah, those two trees side by side represent a fundamental tension in the human experience, the desire for eternal life, for communion with the divine, and the simultaneous pull towards knowledge, towards understanding the world, even if it comes at a cost.
And that cost, as the story goes, is pretty significant. Adam and Eve eat from the forbidden tree and boom, expulsion from paradise.
The fall, as it's often called, is a pivotal moment. It marks a transition from innocence to experience, from a state of unity with God to a state of separation, and the introduction of suffering.
It makes you think about the nature of free will, the consequences of our choices, and the complex relationship between knowledge and innocence.
Precisely. And it's interesting how the Medium article connects this idea of choice back to the power of our words. It's like there's a parallel between the consequences of Adam and Eve's choice and the impact our own words can have on our lives and the lives of others.
She argues that we're constantly creating, shaping our reality through the things we say and think. It's like we each have our own little Garden of Eden that we're tending to with our words.
It's a powerful metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are we planting seeds of kindness and love, or are we cultivating negativity and doubt? It begs the question, are we using our words to build a paradise or to create our own personal exile?
Wow, that's deep. And speaking of deep questions, let's talk about the creation of Eve. The KJV Bible describes God taking one of Adam's ribs to create woman.
It's a passage that has sparked countless interpretations. Some see it as a literal account of Eve's origin, while others view it as a symbolic representation of the inherent connection between man and woman.
I find it interesting that the Medium article, while not focusing on the specifics of Eve's creation, does emphasize the importance of partnership and collaboration.
Right. She argues that we are not meant to go through life alone, We need each other. We thrive in relationships and community. We learn and grow through connection and support.
It makes me think about the different kinds of partnerships we form throughout our lives. Romantic familial friendships, professional collaborations. Each one plays a role in shaping who we are and how we navigate the world.
And just as Adam and Eve were partners in tending to the Garden of Eden, perhaps we're all called to be partners in tending to this world, to care for each other, and to create something beautiful together.
I love that perspective. Okay, let's go back to the KJV Bible for a moment. Genesis 1.28 talks about God blessing humans and giving them dominion over the earth. As we discussed earlier, that word dominion can be tricky.
Right. It's important to approach this passage with a nuanced understanding. While some might interpret it as a license to exploit the earth's resources, others see it as a call to responsible stewardship.
The Medium article seems to lean towards the stewardship interpretation, urging us to appreciate the beauty and wonder of creation and to recognize our interconnectedness with all living things.
She reminds us that we are part of a delicate ecosystem, not separate from it. Our actions have consequences, not just for ourselves, but for the entire web of life.
It's a call to tread lightly, to make choices that honor the interconnectedness of all things, and to remember that the well-being of the planet is ultimately intertwined with our own well-being.
Exactly. And it's not just about protecting the environment for future generations. It's about recognizing that our own lives are enriched when we live in harmony with nature.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's circle back to that theme of rest, that idea of the Sabbath. It keeps popping up in both sources, and for good reason.
In a world that often glorifies busyness and productivity, the Sabbath stands as a countercultural concept. It's a reminder to step back, to disconnect from the demands of daily life, and to simply be.
Genesis explicitly states that God blessed the seventh day and made it holy. It's like God is saying, this day is special. It's a time for rest, for renewal, for reconnecting with what truly matters.
And the Medium article emphasizes that this principle of rest applies to us as well. It's not just about taking a day off work. It's about making space in our lives for activities that nourish our souls, that restore our energy and bring us joy.
It makes me think of all the things we often sacrifice in the name of productivity. Time with loved ones' creative pursuits, moments of quiet reflection. Perhaps incorporating more of those Sabbath moments into our lives, even if it's just for a few minutes each day, could make a world of difference.
It's about shifting our mindset from a culture of doing to a culture of being. Recognizing that our worth is not defined by how much we accomplish, but by who we are at our core.
This idea of balance, of honoring both our need for purposeful action and our need for restorative rest, feels like a profound takeaway from these creation narratives. It's about finding that sweet spot between striving and surrendering, between creating and simply being.
And perhaps, just perhaps, that balance is a reflection of the divine image within us, a way of embodying the creative and restorative forces that brought the world into being.
I love that. We are constantly creating and recreating ourselves, just as the world is constantly being created and recreated.
And it's in that ongoing process of creation and recreation that we discover our true purpose and potential.
There's so much wisdom embedded in these ancient stories, wisdom that's still relevant to our lives today. But we're not quite done with our exploration yet. Stay tuned because we'll be back after a quick message with some final insights and some thought-provoking questions to ponder. And we are back. And I'm still buzzing from all the insights we've uncovered about the creation story. It's amazing how these ancient narratives continue to speak to us across time and cultures.
They do. They touch upon such fundamental aspects of the human experience, our relationship with the divine, our responsibility to the world around us, the power of our words, the importance of rest and renewal. It's a tapestry of wisdom woven together through storytelling and metaphor.
And what's so cool is that it's not just one fixed interpretation. We've seen how these sources offer different perspectives on the same story, encouraging us to think critically and engage with these ideas on a personal level.
Exactly. It's not about blindly accepting a single interpretation, but rather about wrestling with the text, asking questions and drawing our own conclusions. The creation story, in a way, invites us to participate in its ongoing interpretation.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, I'd love to hear what's resonating most strongly with you. What's standing out as a key takeaway?
Perhaps it's the power of words to shape our reality, or the responsibility we have as stewards of creation. Maybe it's a reminder that we're not meant to go through life alone, that we need each other for support and growth. Or perhaps it's the simple yet profound importance of rest, of carving out time for renewal and connection with something larger than ourselves.
What I find particularly striking is that thread running through both sources about our potential as human beings. That idea of being made in God's image, of carrying a spark of the divine within us, is both humbling and empowering.
It is. It challenges us to live up to that potential, doesn't it? To ask ourselves, what does it mean to reflect the divine in my daily life? How can I use my gifts and talents to make a positive impact on the world?
It's like we're all co-creators, shaping our own realities and contributing to the ongoing story of creation. It's a responsibility, but it's also an incredible privilege.
Yeah. The creation story isn't just about the past, it's about the present and the future. It's about the choices we make, the stories we tell, the legacies we leave behind. What kind of world do we want to create? What will our contribution be?
That's such a powerful way to frame it. The creation story, in essence, is a call to action. It's an invitation to step into our roles as creators, to live with intention and purpose, and to make our own unique mark on the world.
And to remember, amidst all the striving and creating, to take a break now and then, to rest, to replenish, to reconnect with the source of our creativity and inspiration. After all, even God took a day off.
Wise words. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've gone from the literal 7 days of creation to exploring the deeper meaning and symbolism embedded within these narratives. We've unpacked the power of words, the importance of rest, the responsibility of stewardship, and the incredible potential that lies within each of us.
It has been a fascinating journey, and I hope it sparked some new insights and questions for you.
Absolutely. Remember, these creation narratives are meant to be explored, pondered, and wrestled with. There's no one right answer, no single interpretation that holds all the truth.
So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep treating your own story.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep discovering the wonders of the world around you.